Ladies and gentlemen, today we are reacting to Josh Weissman gnocchi, potato gnocchi. Joshua has one of the best YouTube channels ever, and I love him. But can he make gnocchi? Let's find out. Lick it. Joshua's gnocchi have over 1.6 million views, while my nonna here only has 271,000. What's going on here on YouTube, huh? Let's watch the video and let's see if Joshua is better than my nonna.
Typically when I make pasta, people are like, Josh, I don't have that fancy roller or this or that. But if
This guy is hilarious, he's the best.
you're making gnocchi, you probably already have the ingredients and you don't need any fancy tools.
Bravo, that's right. Gnocchi, you need potatoes, just a few ingredients, eggs, stuff that you always have in your own kitchen. Bravo, Joshua. I like the way you say gnocchi, Joshua. Say it again.
But if you're making gnocchi,
He knows how to say it. This is gnocchi? Wow, okay, they look nice. Lots of pepper, parmigiano. That's a nice dough. Ooh, why are they burned? Oh no, have you watched Gordon Ramsay gnocchi video, Joshua? What are you doing here?
Really nice little sort of brown.
What is it? Did you fry the gnocchi? What happened to the gnocchi that burned? What happened?
okay, so we're making gnocchi. Gnocchi is super easy. You only need potatoes, egg, flour, and that's it, actually.
Yeah, bravo, that's it. Simple, easy. But Nonna always make the tomato sauce for gnocchi, okay? Always, she loves it.
Gnocchi is so easy you don't even need a recipe. Matter of fact, you shouldn't, because every potato isn't exactly the same.
That's right, that's what Nonna always says. You need to feel it with a fork. And when they're nice and soft, put it through the masher, potato masher. Anyway, we'll go through this together.
Start off with 3 big boy russet potatoes, around 2 pounds. Place those in a pot and cover with good old H2O. That's science for water. Bring that up to a boil and boil your taters for 30 to 45 minutes or until easily prick with a fork, but not total mush.
That's right, okay, so 30-40 minutes, okay. The water is cold, that's very important, you put it in cold water. You need to touch them with a fork. You need to be able to touch them and see how they feel.
Pull them out and peel their skins off. You can do this by hand or you can use a peeler.
Okay, what he's doing now is a lot of work, it's very hot, I don't recommend you to do that. What you do, you get the skin off first. Or you cut them in half first with the skin on, and then you put them through the potato masher. And the skin won't go through because it's too small, the holes are too small. So you can do 2 options. Peel the potatoes first before you boil them, or cut them in half with the skin on, and then you put them through the mash.
I peel them afterwards to avoid waterlock.
Come on, Joshua, we need to say this. You're not a gnocchi maker like my nonna. And that's a little mistake.
Now from here we need to mash them while they're hot. How you do that is up to you. I personally think a potato ricer like this one works really well in getting it nice and fine.
So that thing is using, that potato ricer, whatever he calls it, that thing there is what you can use, yes? And if you cut the potatoes in half, you don't want to peel them. Because sometimes people say, I don't want to peel the potatoes. You just cut them in half, boil them, and then you put through this. You will see the skin is not going through that thing. It's not going to. So do that.
Hey, a good forkin or with a hand masher is also totally cool. Mash till complete.
Okay, once you do that with the masher, you need to let it rest. You can't make gnocchi when it's too hot, okay? It should be tiepido. Right, Suzanne? Right. Suzanne is the new gnocchi queen. It needs to be tiepido, like almost a room temperature, okay? But not cold. It needs to be a little bit, slightly warm. Right, Suzanne? Absolutely. So what he's doing now with the fork, don't stress the potato, leave it alone.
Then let your potatoes cool just enough so they don't hurt your little fingies when you mix. From there, you'll add 1 large egg, give that a mix till thoroughly combined, and a generous pinch of salt. Then start mixing in some all-purpose flour a small handful at a time, just until it starts to come together. Begin kneading and adding flour intermittently until it comes together to a beautiful, smooth, bouncy dough that shouldn't be too sticky, like this.
That's right. So you put the flour a little bit at a time. You never know. You might need more or less. Every time it's different. Right, Suzanne? That's right. You always feel it, you always need to feel it with your hands. The dough should not be hard, should not be too soft. It needs to be a good consistency. It looks like you did a good job with the dough. Very important, you do not make the dough if the potatoes are too hot. It will be a disaster. Okay, that's why the potatoes need to be almost at room temperature. If the potatoes get cold, then you cannot make gnocchi. So they need to be the right temperature, like in a way that you can still mix them with the flour and get the dough out of it, okay? If they get too cold, you don't get a dough. If they're too hot, the dough will break apart.
300 grams of flour. Look, doing it by eye, you'll learn a lot better and it's more fun. You gotta get a feel for the dough. Now,
Bravo, see Joshua, I know, it's all about the feel.
once your gnocchi dough is ready.
Bravo, say it again.
Now once your gnocchi,
Bravo Joshua.
divide into 4 even pieces, then dust one of those segments of dough with flour as needed and begin rolling into a long tube. Sort of like
Okay. Everyone's got their own techniques, there's no right or wrong, everyone can do whatever they want. But what Nonna does, she doesn't cut 4 pieces, you cut one, let's say 1 strip at a time. Let's say you get this much of dough, and then you cut it into 3 strips, and then you get little snakes, I call them. Little snakes that you do, like he's doing now, little ones, and then you cut them a little bit at a time into pillows. This looks like too big to me. It looks like it's gonna be a huge tube, like you called it, or snake, like I call it.
a funny potato snake of sorts, till it's nice and long and about 3/4 of an inch thick, and cut that into segments that
It's huge. I mean, they're big potatoes gnocchi, they're very big, which is okay. Everyone makes gnocchi in different parts of Italy. Gnocchis are made different. Your own family, you make the gnocchi the way you like it, but they're pretty big.
are about 1 inch long, using either a bench scraper or a knife. Then continue that with all of your dough. Now to help speed this up, you could totally bring the homies over, and well, obviously to kiss you goodnight, but yes, speed. Now once you've got your
They are huge, they are huge. If you make them smaller, probably easier to eat, easier to mix with the sauce, and maybe they absorb a little bit more too. They're pretty large. I've never eaten it so large.
your little gnocchis, you can either call it a day and use them as is, or if you want to add some functional shape, you can use a gnocchi roller or even a fork to press and roll your gnocchi to get this nice creased design.
He's done this before. He wants to give the design. Why you do this with the gnocchi? Because these little, I don't call it lanes or whatever they're called on the gnocchi, they help to absorb more sauce. When you push them in with your finger, on the inside you get a hole on one side that absorbs the sauce. Then on this side you get this rough side that absorbs the sauce more. It's a little detail, it makes a big difference.
Now the reason I do this is because duh, it looks cute as a croissant, but it also helps hold more sauce, and you guys know how I feel about sauce.
He knows, bravo. Gnocchi.
Gnocchi. Place the finished gnocchi on a baking sheet generously dusted with flour. Now before we boil and go to Flavor Town, let's first discuss some sauces. First up, pesto.
Pesto, I love the pesto. Suzanne loves mushrooms and pesto, so beautiful. My nonna always says, you have to make gnocchi with my sauce, and I agree, nothing better than the basil tomato sauce by nonna. But the pesto is pretty good, and they look good.
I love me a traditional hand-ground pesto, but this more modern version has superior coatability. Simply take a 30 cup
That was very runny, the pesto.
or 55 grams of pine nuts, place them in a cold pan, and heat over medium heat, stirring often until lightly toasted.
Beautiful.
Blender, you're gonna add 2 large handfuls, about 2 cups of fresh basil, 3 cloves of fresh garlic, peeled obviously, please, 1 cup or 90 grams of grated Parmigiano Reggiano, a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, your toasted pine nuts from earlier. Now begin blending that. Now you're probably gonna have to add a small splash of water, just barely enough to loosen.
Alright, I'll tell you what's happening here. All the ingredients are fantastic, they're perfect. Perfect, Joshua. But the basil, the poor basil, you're cooking the basil right now. First, you do the garlic and the pine nuts. And whatever you can add first, the oil and everything else. Mash them, blend them together. The basil should go right at the end. You don't want to warm up the basil, you kill it, okay? You put the basil right at the end, yeah? And you just blend it for a little, maybe 20 seconds, 15 seconds, and that will be enough for the basil paste to be ready. Right now, with a splash of water, you're making a smoothie, and you can see how runny that is. That's not the pesto that I want to see in your kitchen, Joshua. You can do better than that. Always put the basil right at the end when you make pesto. You can see the video on my YouTube channel. Search for Vincenzo's Pesto.
Don't add too much, or otherwise it'll get too thin. I added a little too much here. Oops. Once it
Okay, so you realize he knows that. He knows he made a mistake.
becomes nice and smooth, while it's blending, stream in a half cup or 120 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil. You can also add a little more if you want it creamier, but I think that's a good amount right there.
My friend, it's a bit, wrong. The extra virgin olive oil goes first, okay? You added so much water when you could have replaced the water with the extra virgin olive oil.
And immediately place your pesto in.
Look how runny it is. It's beautiful. I like it. I like it. It's beautiful. Look how silky. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But it's not the pesto that you call pesto, okay? It's more of a basil sauce.
Now the next part's super easy. Take your gnocchi, get some water boiling, season your water generously with kosher salt. Toss it.
That's a lot of salt. But you know what? It's good. Because the water should be salty. There's no salt. Oh, he did put salt in the gnocchi too. A bit salty. There's also salt in the pesto. A bit too much salt maybe. 1 tablespoon of salt in the water. It's always enough. Balance, balance. That's what we need in life.
And 10 or so pieces of gnocchi per person. And you're gonna boil this for about a minute, potentially less, or until they begin to float. Then get yourself a bowl, use a spider to remove your gnocchi, place your hot gnocchi into the bowl, along with it.
You know how you tell when the gnocchis are ready? When the gnocchi come to surface. Well, they are very big, so they're very heavy to come to surface, but they will. That's why you also make them smaller. When the gnocchi come to surface, okay, so you put the gnocchi in boiling water, after a few minutes, they start coming to surface. And that's when you can start collecting them. You don't go all the way down, you just, a little bit at a time, you collect the gnocchi that come to surface. And you put them in the sauce, a little bit at a time, okay?
The generous amount of your pesto, to taste of course. Add a splash or
Don't call it pesto, please. Joshua, I love you. Don't call it pesto.
2 of your pasta water, stir aggressively to get that nice and emulsified, and that is your pesto gnocchi. Place your gnocchi in a shallow bowl along with some extra sauce. Add some fresh grated Parmigiano Reggiano, a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper, and that is a pesto gnocchi.
Bellissimo, bellissimo, bellissimo. Mangia. Show me how it is.
All right, it's pesto time. I feel like a lot of people are gonna complain about this because they're like,
Oh, yeah. It's not traditional. You gotta do it with a mortar and pestle.
and
I agree with you. I'm not complaining about your pesto. Yeah, mortar and pesto, I like it. Yes, it's traditional, but you can do it with a blender. If you follow my way, my technique. What you did today, you can call it pesto, Joshua. Don't be offended. But it's good. I mean, it's your own way of making it. I'm not saying that, but if you tell people you're making basil pesto, you should do it the right way. You are good because you told everyone you didn't make the real pesto. So we know. Okay, everyone knows. But people out there, they do stuff like this and they call it pesto. It's not pesto.
Italian grandmothers would probably be disrespected by this, and I understand.
Bravo, see, Joshua is respectful.
Also, look how beautiful. Stunning. First off, stunning. Look at this. This beautiful, vibrant, I mean, that's how it should be.
It actually looks very nice. So, it was in there for a while because probably took some photos and stuff. And the sauce, the pesto, combined well with the pasta. It's a little bit creamy now. It's not as runny as it used to be.
It's totally perfect. Melts in your mouth. It's salty.
It just makes me want to cry.
I love it. It's good. It's really good.
To me, this is actually like one of the better pestos I've ever had. When you pick up a piece of...
Lick it.
Now next up, we're doing another non-traditional sauce, which is sauce Mornay. Get yourself a
Sauce Mornay. What are you doing here?
medium-sized sauce pot. To that, you're gonna add 1.5 tablespoons or 28 grams of unsalted butter. Heat that over medium heat. As soon as that butter melts, add in 1.5 tablespoons or 17 grams of all.
Okay, so you're making bechamel.
Whisk that together and let that cook and toast for about a minute or so. Keep whisking constantly, and then from there, you're gonna slowly add 1 cup or 240 milliliters of warm whole.
Gnocchi with bechamel. Gnocchi with bechamel. Sounds good. Sounds really good. Very heavy. Extremely heavy, but it sounds good.
Whole milk. Whisking constantly. Keep going. Keep pouring and mixing until all of your milk is added and you have a nice, smooth, beautifully thickened sauce. Reduce the heat to low. Continue mixing. Once your sauce reaches a consistency like this, turn the heat off and add 1/2 cup or 35 grams of grated Gruyere cheese and 1/4 cup or 21 grams of grated Parmigiano Reggiano.
My God, wow, this is like a top of the range Alfredo.
Then just whisk all that together until beautifully smooth, creamy, and cheesy. Finish your sauce with a little bit of salt and pepper to taste.
He likes salt, Joshua. He likes the salt so much. You get along with my nonna.
and a little bit of fresh grated nutmeg. Just a few minutes at room temp.
Nutmeg is so important for bechamel. It's such an important ingredient. Sometimes I replace it with cinnamon if I don't have nutmeg. If you can get nutmeg, the nutmeg, ooh, yum.
This will begin to sort of get crusty, so just keep it heated and stirring until you're ready to use it. Make sure not to burn or boil it. Now again, boil your gnocchi just until it begins to float. Pull it out, put it in a bowl, add a generous amount of your sauce Mornay, toss in a little splash of your pasta water, and mix aggressively. And look at this beautifully emulsified sauce. It looks kind of reminiscent.
Bellissimo, bellissimo, bellissimo. I'm gonna try this. I love bechamel. I'm a big fan of bechamel, so I'll try this.
Listen to mac and cheese almost. Finish it with fresh grated Parmigiano Reggiano and a little bit fresh.
It's like I says Parmigiano Reggiano. I like it. It's not Parmesan. It's Parmigiano Reggiano. It's this way. He said it better now. Reacted to Joshua's lasagna, $1 lasagna, and he says Parmigiano Reggiano very well.
Parmigiano Reggiano.
But this is an older video, and he says Parmigiano Reggiano.
Fresh cracked black pepper, bruv. Thank you. Ah, yes.
It's like a cacio e pepe done with bechamel.
This is mac and gnocchi and cheese. It's like mac and cheese, but more sexy.
I will call this a mac Alfredo pepe because you got pepper in there too. It's just beautiful. It's a great creation.
Okay, one more. This one's gonna be a fried sage butter gnocchi. Nice and crispy too.
Why everyone is doing this? Why did Gordon Ramsay start this trend? Why do you have to make the gnocchi crispy? The gnocchi should melt in your mouth. Joshua, you're so good. Don't copy Gordon Ramsay. He can learn from you.
To do that, get yourself a 10-inch non-stick skillet, toss in 3.5 tablespoons or 50 grams of unsalted butter, set that over medium heat, let that melt. Now once that's nice and hot and boobling, toss in half a bunch of fresh sage, let that cook for about 10 seconds or just until it begins to get a little fragrant. Now,
I just love the butter and sage. Flavors are so beautiful.
Now on the side, I've got my gnocchi boiling. Again, once the gnocchi is fully cooked, you're then going to remove it, place it in the hot sage butter, season it to taste with salt, give it a little toss. Now let that sit undisturbed for about 2 to 3 minutes or just until it gets beautifully crispy and
Why do you have to make gnocchi crispy? I just don't get it. What's the beauty of it? I never tried, okay? I like porchetta to be, skin to be crispy. I like chips to be crispy. Why do I need to have crispy gnocchi? Please tell me.
Crunchy and golden on one side, flip and repeat on the other side. Now from there, you actually can serve it directly out of the pan. Get yourself a bowl.
If you look at them, they look nice, but they don't look like gnocchi to me. And they're so big.
Daintily place your gnocchi and your fried sage leaves into that bowl. Drizzle a little bit of the butter on top and finish with some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano. And that's all you need. Beauty and simplicity, my friend.
I don't want to say anything bad, Joshua. For me, Joshua, you're amazing. Everything you do is great. But first, you put the butter sauce in there. Then you put the gnocchi, which looks nice. Then you put more gnocchi on top, and then you decorate it, okay? We need more sauce. Those gnocchi are too dry.
We've seen this one all over the internet. I'm so tired of the term sage brown butter, but that's what it is. But I'm also sick of hearing it. All the food bloggers are like,
So today, I made sage brown butter cookies, and I also made a sage brown butter pancakes.
this is
This is the best. I love it. Joshua, you're so real, and that's what we love about you. Thank you for being so real. Everyone is making this. You've done it because everyone is doing it, so you had to do it. But I can see those gnocchi, not gnocchi. I can see those gnocchi. I'll try. I promise I'll try it, but you can see that they're tough.
basically a fried gnocchi, fried in the pan. It's not deep fried. It's nice and glossy. You've got some Parmesan
Why?
Reggiano that you've shredded on top. There
See, it slips. It doesn't even stay on top. It doesn't absorb it.
we go. And we get a little leaf of fried sage, which crunchy and flavorful. You know, I hate on the sage brown butter, and yet it always comes through. The flavor, texture, the richness. It's not too rich. Put more butter in here if you want. And
Yeah, more butter. I mean, that's what it's all about. Butter and sage. So you need more butter.
just have it like swimming in butter.
Look how tough it is. See, it's tough. See how you pull that apart? I don't want that. I don't want to eat that. Sorry.
But the gnocchi itself is like beautifully cooked. The inside, it's bouncy, melts in your mouth, it's rich. It's developed a nice sort of like crispy crust. I mean, you could hear it. All these sauces are really easy to make, but this one for some reason hits the home the best. It's great for winter. This is a little bit heavy for right now. I'm gonna go to sleep now. This is sort of like an all-encompassing, very simple way to make your gnocchi. So go to bed, have a good sleep, wake up, make some gnocchi, stop saying that you're gonna make it, because the time is now.
But do you want to know what?
I agree, just do it, just make it. It was a great video to watch. What have I learned? I've learned how to make a beautiful Alfredo pepe sauce. Beautiful, a mix of bechamel sauce, Alfredo. Not really Alfredo, but we have to put Alfredo in there. Always put Alfredo in there. And cacio e pepe together. Beautiful, great with gnocchi. Gnocchis are a bit too big, but it's your personal choice. You decide how you like your gnocchi. I like my gnocchi smaller. It's personal. Some people like it bigger, some people like it smaller. The pesto, there was no pesto, but it was pretty good, nice. It was nice, something I would try. But always remember, you put the basil right at the end. Even if you make it with arugula or you make it with parsley, put it at the end. You don't want to warm up this beautiful fresh ingredient, the fresh leaf. That should be gently blended. And it turns out creamier too. The butter and sage, I love butter and sage, but making a gnocchi crispy, you could have added more butter, more parmigiano in there and toss the gnocchi, but not until you make it crispy. Just toss it to give the flavor and then you serve it. You know, it's so easy, you don't have to make it crispy. But Gordon Ramsay have created this. Those bloggers copied Gordon Ramsay. Everyone made this butter sage, blah, 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 blah. And now even you, Joshua, made it. Do not get these things into your head, please. Don't follow these bloggers anymore. And Gordon can learn from you. So don't watch Gordon, please, okay? You cannot cook Italian. But you make a good beef Wellington. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Joshua, please, make a carbonara. Come on, make a carbonara for me. Call it carbonara. I want you to say it. I want you to make it for me. I want to react to you. Come on, Joshua. It's time for you to make carbonara. All of us are waiting for this moment. This is an invite, a challenge to you, Joshua. Please, everyone, go and tell Joshua. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video, reaction video. Maybe with Joshua making carbonara. Carbonara.